We're seeing brain tumor risk increase at 10 years and less of use. What you need to know with that is that almost everything else that can cause a brain tumor, mostly chemical exposures or ionizing radiation, take 20 years for these tumors to show up. Why is it we're seeing this increase start at 10 years with cell phones? Well, it means that cell phones are a very, very effective way of creating brain tumors. The Bioinitiative working group is a group that grew out of the meeting in Mexico at the Bioelectromagnetic Society. There was a lot of debate at that scientific conference about why it is that there are 30 years worth of scientific studies documenting bioeffects and adverse health effects from these exposures, and yet we are still living with the same old standards we've had for years. They get tweaked every few years, but not in any substantial way, and not in a way that takes into account our growing knowledge about health risks. So the Bioinitiative Working Group originally had 4 members, a core organizing group, and the meeting occurred in June in Mexico, and by October we had decided that we would write a state-of-the-art report on electromagnetic fields and health risks. And we would use this to alert people in the world whose mission it is to translate science into good public health policy, and to tell and broadly to tell the public what these findings are. So between October of 2006 and August of 2007, which is a very short time, this group of 14 scientists and public health experts did their very best work in science chapters and public health chapters to evaluate and come up with recommendations. And so in a 9-month period, we have produced the only truly independent look at electromagnetic fields, radio frequency radiation, and health risks. Each of these people, each of these participants on the Bioinitiative Working Group is in their own right a leading world expert. We had Henry Lai doing the work. Henry, of course, is at University of Washington, and he did the work on genotoxicity, or damage to the human genome. And he also did the very large chapter on neurology, the effects on the central nervous system and effects on cognition, our ability to think, our effects on behavior, judgment, sleep, and so on, all of the neurological studies. And I think in total, we as a group probably looked at more than 2,000 studies. These are peer-reviewed, published science. They're not someone's, casual opinion. General conclusions of the Bioinitiative report are these. The existing standards that we have worldwide for electromagnetic fields, including power lines, including cell phones, including cell towers, cordless phones, basically all of these things we've looked at. These standards that we have today are thousands of times too high. It's inescapable. If you look at the studies in aggregate, if you look at all of the science studies, they clearly tell us that we are living in a world today where the standards that we have do not protect public health. And the consequences of not doing something about this are going to be huge. We need new standards. It's fine to keep the old ones because the old standards protect us against being burned or being cooked or being electrocuted. What they don't do is protect us against cancer and diseases like Alzheimer's and Lou Gehrig's disease, miscarriage. The response in Europe has been massive. We were overwhelmed with response, requests for interviews, media coverage, really excellent coverage in the news press from European countries and the Nordic countries. And within 2 weeks, I think it's fair to say it's unprecedented that a single report, a dry science report, would cause a major environmental and public health agency to call for new policy and new study and new preventative actions. So in Europe, it's been very large. The International Herald Tribune has carried excellent analysis and response. And almost every other major European newspaper in all of the European countries have carried an article or two or three. In the United States, we have seen absolutely no coverage. It's very disappointing to see that the silence in our media, our print and our broadcast media, is absolute. If you look at this issue in terms of what we should have learned from smoking and lung cancer and secondhand radiation and cancer, I would simply do this for parents. If you wouldn't buy these for your kids, and these are candy cigarettes, you certainly wouldn't want to buy a candy toy cell phone, because I think in 10 years we're going to be looking at these two as equally harmful, meaning the real McCoy, real cigarettes, real cell phones. And there is no excuse to start children off using these cell phone devices at an early age and probably even into young adulthood, considering that their brains are still hardwiring and brain development and neurological development isn't complete until your early 20s. We have no business providing kids with things that are probably going to turn out to be more dangerous than cigarettes. Certainly in the short term, the brain tumor risk is going to be higher.